Hi, this is Ron from POCculture.com. Isabel, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Excited to speak with you. I know you just spent some time at South by Southwest. How was that experience
Yes.
for you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was like I didn't expect the activation to be as upscale as it was. And to be able to meet so many people that have seen the show and are excited for the show. That was really just an eye-opening experience and I was really happy to be there.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, you're big time now, so I'm glad that it was
Oh,
upscale. Did you
ooh.
get to actually enjoy any of the film festival or anything like that as well?
Well, we were at the activation for most of the time, but we did get to perform and we had some party time after. So we got to really talk to the people there and just really enjoy the activation as it was given to us. So I was really happy to be there and I had such a great time.
That's great. And let's be honest, all the other stuff is important. Of course, the activation is important, but the party time is really
The
where
party
the
time,
connections
woo!
happen. That's right. Well, I think this show is so cool and it's such a unique project. For you, you've talked pretty openly about like the fight for positivity,
Yeah.
and honesty in the show and in the promo. How have you managed to deal with like the negativity, and what strategies do you use to block that out and stay positive?
So so I've been on social media posting dance covers, K-pop dance covers for maybe 5 years now, 4 years, 5 years. And I have received hate comments here and there and from everywhere, walls and walls of hate comments, just simply just by being a bigger body in the K-pop community, which is apparently incredibly offensive to some people. But what really helped was having a community of people that were able to help me move forward and reminding me of why I started in the first place, and just thinking about how far I've gone in my dance journey, and really recognizing how happy just simply dancing makes me. And I mean, with each hate comment that I get 100 really positive, affirmative comments with it. So it's not too hard to block out, but we're all human at the end of the day. But really having my family and friends with me and supporting me through thick and thin has really been the most um, um, helpful part of this whole process.
I think that's really great to hear. I mean, being online nowadays, everybody's online and
Hmm.
performer and creative. You have to be online. You have to have a good presence. And at the same time, that we all know that's a double-edged sword. Do you have advice for young women, especially Asian women who are online and have to deal with just an inordinate amount of abuse and negative comments on how they can better cope with those types of issues?
Hmm. So I think uh, one thing is just recognizing where this hate is coming from and why they do what they do. Um, Most of them I mean, probably 100% of them have problems of their own, and they're just relaying that back onto you because you're an easy target. And that's unfortunately something that I just have to cope with at the moment until there's a way to solve it all. But again, it's just really reminding of yourself of how far you've come and what you're doing for yourself and for the Asian community in particular, since there's so much body shaming that occurs within the Asian community, and how, like, what big steps you're taking just to even present yourself online, whether you're being body positive or showing off your curves or showing skin. Just simply existing on the internet as a plus size Asian woman is like almost is like unthinkable almost. So just really reminding yourself of how far you've gone, and really setting goals for yourself to move forward, and like recognizing what makes you happy and why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I really admire your perspective on it and your approach
Mhm.
because I think you do a great job of showing that strength, but also, like I said, you're vulnerable and open about it. You're not just
Mhm.
pretending like this isn't a thing, because obviously so many people have to deal with it.
Yeah, and
And
that's
I
and that's
think
been something that I've had to grown into because I mean before the show I didn't like sharing it, to be completely honest. I didn't want to share my vulnerability. I didn't want to show that I didn't want to bring attention to it is the big thing. I didn't want to bring attention that I'm bigger. I didn't want to bring attention that I'm getting hate. I just wanted to, hey, I'm dancing, I'm happy. Don't pay attention to anything else. Just pay attention to me, la la. But I think going through the show has made me recognize that the absolute importance of showcasing the struggles along with the positives.
I completely agree. And that really goes to how special and unique this show is. So
Mhm.
let's talk about on the show. It seemed like, of course, really fun and exciting, but also almost like a cathartic experience for you.
Mhm.
What did you learn just about yourself and in general about the show that was kind of an unexpected thing?
Ooh, I think the number one thing, because I did not expect myself to be on a reality show. I'm not that type of person. I'm more like a little bit more reserved. I wouldn't say a little bit more reserved. I don't like getting in disagreements. I don't like arguing, and that's usually what all reality shows are about these days. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but the minute I got into the house and was able to talk with these women, it's really been an amazing community, and they've been so supportive from the beginning to the end. I was really sad when I left the house. But like it's really a different experience to be around a community of friends that are of a similar size as you. And they're like being able to focus on what you love doing without having that voice in your head saying, okay, make sure you suck in, make sure you stand up straight, make sure you don't look too fat next to this person. Like it's compared to what I've had experiences in the past being in predominantly Asian communities where women tend to be pretty small, and I'm a tall and bigger person, so I was always just much bigger than everybody else. But being here, I felt almost normal, and I didn't have to think about how I physically like looked, and I could focus on my mental and focusing on my goals. So this community has really been everything to me, and these my sisters have have really pushed me to move forward in my dance journey.
That's so great to hear, because I actually was very curious about what the atmosphere was like. Of course,
Mhm.
Lizzo built it to be positive, supportive of plus size women, and at the
Mhm.
same time, it's like a competitive show, right?
Mhm.
There's a little bit of that, and I think various members have talked about that in the show about I'm competitive, and so how did you manage that balance of between being supportive and encouraging to each other, but also balancing
Mhm.
that competitive side?
Actually, I would not consider the show to be competitive at all. Although it is being somewhat advertised as a competition show, it's really a competition within ourselves. Because there are no like, oh, okay, only this many people will make it to the end, or only this many people will do it. Because it wasn't a one for all. We if Lizzo says in the beginning that there is a space for every single one of us to stand on stage with her during her tour, and it's only up for us to showcase that we deserve a spot, that we have a spot on that stage. And um, so all we wanted at the end of the day, all of the goals, our goals were just to make sure that all 10 of us could make it to the end of the on stage for the tour. So it was really just a supportive environment from the beginning to the end. And I never felt a moment where I felt like I was battling anyone, or we didn't have to feel that we had to step on each other's throats to get on top of each other. Like it was never any kind of negative environment of that sort. So it was really just we're working together for one goal. And and also we were all very it was very mentally and physically taxing because we were doing 12-hour rehearsals day after day. We're being filmed the minute we wake up till we get to bed. And then we're also going through a self-love journey. We're also learning all these choreographies and then performing them the next day. So it was just, oh, it was very, very exhausting, but it was so worth it in the end because I was able to grow with my sisters through this experience.
That's great. I mean, I love both the literal and the symbolic idea of Lizzo saying that there is room on stage for all of you,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like, especially in diverse circles, there's almost like this feeling, no matter what industry, that there's room for one person of color sometimes, right?
Yes.
And then there inevitably we end up kind of boxing each other out, and when
Mm-hmm.
in reality there is room for more
Yes,
than just one of us. And so
most
I'm
definitely.
I'm happy to hear that. So you talked about the physicality a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'd love to hear what you did before actually, going on the show to prepare, and just I guess how it challenged you physically, and I guess surprised you in that way.
Mm. So, I mean, I've been a dancer my entire life. I've been dancing since I was about 4 years old. So I'm doing hip hop, I've done color guard, I've done K-pop dance, I've been on dance teams, I've been doing solo dance by myself. For preparing for this show, I knew that it was going to be very physically taxing. Since I mean, I would have never considered myself to be put into the dance industry at all, since I've never been accepted before. So why would I be accepted now all of a sudden? So I think it was just mentally preparing myself rather than the physical exertion part, since I've already have that in the bag. So I was ready to go and ready to show what I've had, because I've been holding it in for so long, because we've never had the ability to showcase that in the past, since I've gone to auditions and auditions. I've been to I mean, just even presenting myself online, going to these castings and these K-pop auditions, and they won't look up from their paper because they know that I'm bigger, and they won't even give me a chance. So Lizzo being able to just share the spotlights with us and giving us a platform where we can at least share our stories was just like absolutely surreal. So I was ready in that moment, and I didn't feel like I needed to prepare anything because I was just ready to go and rumble.
You've been preparing your whole life.
I've been preparing my whole entire life.
No, without knowing all the backgrounds of all the other members, I believe you're the only Asian American member of the
Yes.
show. So, were there any kind of intimidating elements or challenges being that Asian person in a group?
I think, well, the first thing that I wanted to address when I was there was because was that I was definitely entering a Black space, an African American space, and their stories were needed to be the forefront of the show, because it's incredibly important right now. But I was able to share some of my story as well, because I gladly, these girls are amazing, that they really wanted to hear my side of the story as well, and hear about Asian culture and how Koreans viewed me being on the show, and how I grew up in a Korean community, and how that impacted me as a dancer. So I'm glad I was able to share that on the show. Since I did not grow up with there are no plus size Korean women that I look up to, because there simply aren't any that aren't comedians or have been made fun of or have been pressured to lose weight, and have been the butt of the joke. So I really wanted to come off and show that I could be something other than what the Korean community has presented as plus size Asian women in the past. So I'm glad that I was able to be a small representation of that on this show, and really showcase my personal story growing up as an Asian American.
Wow, you gave me a lot right there with that amazing answer, which I appreciate. I want to go back to your earlier point, which I thought was really poignant. You said you were entering a Black space, and
Yes.
it was important for their stories to be front and center, which is really important, especially when it comes to Asian and Black communities working together. Even
Mm-hmm.
K-pop, in many ways, is inspired by
Yes.
Black hip
Oh,
hop and Black
yes.
performers. So, how important is it for you to do your part in representing like the bridge between those communities, and making sure that our communities are stronger together and have so much more in common, but historically have been kind of divisive?
Yes, there's definitely, yes, I definitely recognize that there's been struggles in the past and also recently within our two communities, but we're all fighting for the same want is just representation and being seen in a very white Hollywood. And although we're these days we're seeing a lot more representation in the Asian community and the Black community on main media, I think there's still a lot to work towards. And if we have to, there's no way that any of us are going to get work towards that with if we're going to tear each other apart. So we really need to be pushing each other forward and encouraging each other to have a voice and really just representing and showcasing as much as of our culture and our community to the forefront, because there's not going to be any growth without it.
100%. I completely agree. Let's talk about Lizzo. It's taken me, yes. I can't believe it. I've been able to restrain myself this long asking about Lizzo. She's obviously so amazing. Yes. What was it like to meet and work with her? And was there anything that kind of surprised you or was unexpected about working with her in person?
Yes, most definitely. So, I mean, the way she represents herself on media, online, absolutely amazing, body positive, super extroverted, just the person you want to be your best friend. She's exactly the same in real life. Like, I think that's what surprised me the most, because how she was represented to me was how she was in real life and when I met her in person. And it's so amazing how supportive she's been to each and every one of us, because she's been able to pick us up for her this show. So she knew us personally and we're like, oh shoot, you know this much about us? And it's like, it's so much different than what we've seen from other celebrities. And that sometimes they're kind of putting on a character for their audience. But for Lizzo, that is 100% her. And the way she interacts with us, and she really connects with us on a deeper level, I think, because she recognizes that we've grown from similar places, although she's at a different level at us at the moment. But she's able to recognize that we're going through the same struggles as she is. Just simply throughout, there's a part in the show that you might have seen in the trailer of her crying and then hugging me. So that was a specific moment that you'll have to look for in the show, but it was a really special moment that I was able to bond with Lizzo about a similar struggle that we've had. And it was amazing to be able to connect with someone that you look up to and having them look at me eye to eye about something. And it didn't feel like she was like my big boss. There were moments where I felt like there was we were looking eye to eye, and I was able to enjoy every moment of it.
That's so wonderful. And I did get a chance to screen the episodes, and I did that specific moment with you and Lizzo was really special. I won't go into it too much, but just what did it mean to you to have her recognize, she was just talking and then recognize that there was a little bit of recognition in your part, in your eyes, from that experience, and to connect in that way? How has that impacted you?
Oh, it was amazing. I did not expect that to happen at all. Because I mean, I knew that what I was going through, she was going through at least 100 times more regarding hate online. I mean, I've gotten walls and walls, hundreds and hundreds of hate comments in a single hour, but I know that she goes through the same thing. And for her to be able to recognize that I'm struggling and my struggle is just as important as hers at that moment, and that she was seeking some kind of like comfort from me, from little old me, was honestly, it was so heartwarming. And like, I was just grateful that she was able to come to me in that moment for that maybe that validation that we're here for each other and we'll be here to stand up for each other when the time need be. So yeah,
that was really cool. And that's what makes Lizzo so special, right? Is that she's unapologetic about who she is, and boy does she make people upset. It's just unreasonable.
Unreasonable.
if we could go back a little bit to your background, and you've talked about how you yourself, you never expected to be on a show like
Mhm.
this.
Yes.
I've heard you talk about how your mom is pretty traditional. So
Yes.
how did she and your family in general respond to you joining the show?
Ooh, so although I live in a pretty traditional Korean household because my mom, um, she's always been really supportive. Although in the back of her mind, like most Korean women, when they look at their daughters, they just want the best for them, and the best for them is for them to be accepted in society, which is so being skinny. So I mean, there's always that, well, one day when you grow older and you'll be a little bit more skinnier and you get all the guys, and then you'll get all this education, and then you'll have your glow up. And it feels like sometimes we're waiting for that moment to happen, but in reality, that was never going to happen. So but again, she's always been supportive in at least my dance journey and just being seen. So she was they were ecstatic. My mother in particular. My dad is a little bit more conservative, and he's like, Hollywood, that's a little dangerous. Because I'm an only child. So they're like, my little baby is gonna go off into LA and do things. That's a little dangerous. I don't know. Let's stay home. So there's definitely that aspect of it. But they're definitely excited. They're telling their friends about it. They're like, my daughter. So she's on this Amazon Prime Video
Yeah.
show. So it's interesting to see their initial like inner conflict of letting their daughter go to being super excited of how this is all turning out.
That's so fun to hear. And as a parent myself, I can definitely empathize with some of their
Yeah.
anxiety. But they must be so proud, and they're only going to be so excited when they see you. Um, how have you generally experienced this era that we're in, where K-pop is just blown up to incredible
Mm,
proportions? Obviously, like K-dramas and shows like Squid Games.
mhm.
Do you feel that's been a positive for your personal growth and career, or have there been any kind of downsides or conflicts?
Ooh, I think for the most part, 99% of the time, it's been really, really positive because I grew up listening to K-pop, watching K-dramas when no one watched it.
Yeah,
At least in my community, no one watched it. And if I did say something about it, it was like, oh, you're watching that Chinese show again? Like, what are you that you're eating that smelly food? Like it's always been something that has been the main thing to pick on me about. So having that being something that's popular and being older and being able to showcase like my K-pop dances on social media and getting um positive comments from that, and having people look up to me has been like absolutely nuts. I would have never imagined K-pop to blow up in the way that it did. And I'm happy because I get to go to my concerts now, but and I get to collaborate with these K-pop artists. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I think it's been a really, really positive, and like with, I think finally we're getting that first initial push towards getting Asian representation in Hollywood, with just simple things like Parasite, Squid Games, just like the never ending K dramas that are available on Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and da 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 da. Like there's so much available in like Asian media that's like able to be digested and wanting to be digested by a bigger audience. So I think for the most part, it's been a really positive reinforcement to having more Asian representation.
yeah, and it's a long time coming.
That's a long time coming.
I feel like for a lot of us Asian Americans growing up, like you said, there were points where they're making fun of your food or things like
Yeah,
that, and we almost are conflicted with our own Asian identity, right? And
yeah,
feeling a little embarrassed about it. Was there a moment
yes.
in your life where you were like, you know what, that's a turning point? Like I really embrace that side of me, and I'm really gonna,
Mm.
lean into the K-pop and the K-pop dancing and any of that. Was there a moment like that that you remember?
Huh. I don't think there's any, well, although people did make fun of me, I don't think I've ever been embarrassed by it. I did have people pull their eyes at me at school, make fun of my food, this and that, but I don't think there's ever been a moment where I've shied away and say, well, okay, and then hid my food. I was like, okay, so like in your face, you want to bite? Like it's been very I'm like opening my arms like, you want to try this? It's pretty good. Like you should try it. So I've never been embarrassed about it at any point. But I guess the real big turning point was when I was able to go through to college, and there was a K-pop dance team, and there was people lining up to get onto this dance team. When I was on it, when I was a captain for that team, there was 100 people that auditioned for 30 spots, and that was like absolutely ridiculous for K-pop, like this thing that I listened to on my little MP3 in elementary school because I didn't want anyone else to listen to it. So it's been a really big turning point for me to recognize like, oh, the things that I love to do are being recognized by other people, and I could publicly share that I love these things with other people and find friends that like it too, and I could talk to them about it. So K-pop has been like the number one reason why I have the friends that I have now, because they've been on my K-pop dance team. Like those are my best friends. So definitely K-pop has shaped my life and molded it in the way that it is now.
That's great to hear. Now, this show is going to give you a even larger platform. You already have a pretty large platform online, which is great, but I feel like you're about to blow up. What is some of your dream projects or people you would love to work with going forward?
Oh my God, I don't even want to think about it. I think I always, I think it's the Asian American in me where I just kind of like track back on goals so I don't go, that is, I don't disappoint myself moving forward. But I mean, it'd be a dream to collaborate with a K-pop idol or do something of the sort, but that's like a dream, like that's way in the future. Like, but if there was an ultimate goal, that would be it, of course. But I mean, just simply being able to have a voice and being able to impact people of all ages that need that self-love and confidence in their life just to simply exist in this world. Being someone that I needed growing up, that said it's okay to be bigger and Asian and being different from everybody in your community, because it would have really helped growing up as a child and being more accepting of myself and learning to love myself earlier on would have helped me grow in other aspects of my life. And if I didn't have to go through that extreme struggle, I probably would have been an even better version of myself at this moment. But if I can make that impact on someone now, it'll just mean the world for me, and know that all the struggles that I've gone through have been worth it in the end.
Oh, are you trying to make me cry, Isabel? That's super powerful. I completely agree with you. That's what makes what you do so important. And I really appreciate that you have that, desire to pass on that positivity to the next generation. So thank you. I just have one more question before we wrap up. You grew up in the Bay Area, so I have to know,
yes.
Where's the best Korean food in the Bay Area?
Ooh, Bay Area Korean food. Ooh, I mean, I think you can't miss out on the San Jose, Santa Clara area. The Korean community is huge there. So you just hit up any restaurant in that area and you'll be good to go. So definitely hit up San Jose and Santa Clara. That's where all the good Korean food is at.
Good to know. Well, congratulations on this show. It's super inspiring, and your journey is super inspiring, and we look forward to bigger and better things going forward for you.
Thank you so much.